Hi, welcome to this video, and in this video I'm talking about license plates and epoxy resin. So here's license plates as like two projects that I did recently, the license plate project and epoxy resin project. So I have my desk here, and my desk has a big piece of loose wood here, and I decided I wanted to fill it up with epoxy resin, this crack. So this piece of wood was loose, so I had to screw it in. I put a screw on the underside. I put a screw here, and a screw here. It's holding it in place, and I tried to get it as flush as I could. And then basically, I used a tube of caulking, like silicone caulking, and I sealed the bottom of the crack. There's a crack here too at the top, and I sealed the bottom and let that dry. And I thought that was going to work. And then I got my epoxy resin from eBay. It was like $20 for 16 ounces. Each one of these is 8 ounces. And it's for this purpose. It's crystal clear epoxy, self-leveling, 40-minute work time, resists yellowing, non-flammable, no VOCs, and low odor. I got that on eBay. It's like 20 bucks. Is a little kit. It came with these little mixing things. And it came with so basically, yeah, so I got the epoxy, and I'm going to give you some tips. After I sealed up the wood, I mixed up some epoxy, and I put it in, and it dripped right through the crack. So I had to actually get some more silicone and try to seal it, like right on the bottom while I was working with the epoxy. So, and I also had to seal up. I just squirted some silicone on my hand, and then I sealed up these edges too, because the epoxy resin is pretty liquid. It's going to drip everywhere. And so I actually wasted up a lot of epoxy resin. So you got to make sure that your crack is really sealed up underneath and on the edges. It's really good to use silicone, because silicone, you can remove the silicone really, really easily afterwards. You can just scrape it off and then use a wire brush. And I also used alcohol, because it's good. You can clean up the epoxy with alcohol and a cloth or a paper towel before it gets hard. So, it's a really good idea to have that alcohol on hand when you're doing this job. I also have a big pipette, which was handy. And I used also a glass cup, like a tumbler, like a short tumbler, clear glass cup, which is really good. And again, you can clean up everything with alcohol and a rag or a paper towel. So anyways, the tips that I have for you are to mix up a little bit of epoxy and then put it in the crack. And then let it dry. Let it dry. And that's going to seal the entire crack up. And then also, you want to check underneath and make sure it's not dripping, and apply more silicone so that you stop any of the drips happening. And then just mix up a small amount of a resin like that, and mix it up in your cup, and then put it in the crack and let that dry for like half an hour, and get nice and thick, and that's before you want to do that. You want to seal this entire crack before you put in, like, fill the entire thing up, because if you fill it up and it's not sealed properly, it's just going to run through and you're going to end up wasting epoxy. So that's the best thing to do. And then once you know that your crack is sealed really well, as there's no drips happening, you can fill up with the epoxy. And I use this pipette, and it's really handy. I even use the pipette to stir, as well as to put the epoxy in the crack. And then you can get the epoxy up to the top as best you can. And if there's any bubbles, you just pop them. I pop the bubbles with something like this, like something with a little tool to pop the bubbles, because there's going to be little bubbles, and you want to get rid of all of the bubbles. It's going to look a lot better. And then you just basically fill, very carefully. You can almost use the pipette to drip in the epoxy just to get it to like the level that you want it. And then you have the alcohol and paper towel or a cloth, and you can wipe up any excess epoxy, and then that stops you. You know, I didn't even have to sand anything. So I did a really good job. And so anyways, yeah, that's my tip on how to seal a desk like that. So that's my project number 1. Project number 2 is the license plates. And I got these old license plates. And they're really rusty. I'll show you the other side. That's how much rust is on them. There's like even more rust than that on them. And I used a brass brush. You can get them like at in a place where you find like shoe polish stuff. There's like a brass brush. It's really good because it doesn't like it's good at removing rust. So I used a brush all over that. And then again I used my alcohol and some makeup pads, and I cleaned up all of the dust off the license plate and any dirt and everything with the makeup pad and the alcohol. And then I used this Krylon. It's called Krylon UV resistant matte clear acrylic coating. Excuse me. And I spray painted it. So yeah, it turned out pretty good. So I did a couple. Here's another one. That one I just did today. It was kind of yellow, and you can see that I'm at the end of my can, and so it's like it's giving this like white satin finish now because I'm at the end of the can. And here's a green one with the kind of the corners wrecked here. And then here's one that didn't turn out very good because it's a lot of the paint was missing. So there's that 1932. This one's 1932. This was 1936. This one's 1929. So it looks like they had different colors every year, and there's 1928. So anyways, those are 2 small projects that I did just recently. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope everybody's doing good, and have a good day.